I'm Dr. CS, and in this video I'll introduce extended entity relationship models. So extended or enhanced entity relationship models are just like regular entity relationship models, except that we add inheritance to entity types, superclasses and subclasses. And so the reason you would want to do this is, say you have an example like this. You have a university member with these attributes: ID and name, rank, major, position, salary. And when you see something like this, you want to ask questions. For example, what are the different kinds of university members? And do all those different kinds of university members have the same attributes? For example, do faculty members have a major? Do students have a rank or salary? And if the answer is no, then subclasses can be a good solution. So in this example, we will break university member into two subtypes: employee and student. And the way we've written this here, there is a single line coming from university down to a circle with an O in it. So the O means overlapping. The fact that this is a single line means that you can have entity instances that are neither students nor employees. You can have just university members. And the O means that the subtypes are overlapping. So for example, you can have a university member who is both a student and an employee. Notice that for employee, we have this emp type or employee type attribute. Notice also that we have an attribute for salary and for hours. There should probably be an hourly rate there too, but good enough for this example. So let's deal with those. And we'll deal with those by breaking employee down further into a salaried employee or an hourly employee. Notice two differences here. First, we have a double line coming from employee to the circle with a D in it. And that double line means that you can't have instances of employees. Every instance must be some subclass of employee, either salaried or hourly in this case. Notice also that emp type, we have emp type written on the double line coming from employee, and then on the arrows from the two subclasses to the D for disjoint subtypes, we have two values: salaried and hourly. So those would be the values for emp type that make an instance a salaried employee or an hourly employee. And when we create subtypes, we call those subtypes specializations. All right? And when we go through a process like this, where we start out with university member, we notice that there are different kinds of university members, and we break it down further into subtypes. We call that specialization or top-down design. And we're going to return to this example a little bit later. Now let's look at another example. So let's say we've done some modeling and we have cars and trucks, and we have these attributes, and we notice that there are attributes in common. In particular, VIN and seating, vehicle identification number and seating, are common to both car and truck. So when we see this, we can factor that into a superclass. This would be a bottom-up approach. So we're going to make this an overlapping subtype, so you can have something that's both a car and a truck, like a Subaru Brat, I guess, if you remember those. Those were kind of like cars, but they also had truck beds. And so they're overlapping subtypes, and we won't have anything that's just a vehicle because we have the double line coming down from the supertype, which means that every vehicle is either a car or a truck, or because they're overlapping, both, right? So you can have a body type and a bed length. All right. And so when we factor common attributes in order to create a superclass, we call that generalization, a bottom-up design approach. Now, if we go back to our student-employee hierarchy, we notice that there can be cases where students are hourly employees. For example, teaching assistants are teaching assistants are students who also happen to be hourly employees. And we can model that with multiple inheritance to create not just a tree but a lattice, meaning that a student employee is both a student and an hourly employee. And then we can have and then here we're going to model further that a student employee must be either an RA, a research assistant, or a TA, a teaching assistant. And this is the case in many universities, because if you had more than one job, then you would exceed the number of hours that you're allowed to work, and so on and so forth. All right. So there are lots of different ways that you can use inheritance to arrive at a very fine-grained model of your data. And so that's why you would use subtypes, so you can do more precise modeling. So when you have commonality between different entity types and differences, both, you can use subclasses to model that. You can also use subclasses when you have certain subsets of an entity type that participate in different relationships. For example, we might want to say that only faculty can participate in a teaches relationship, but not hourly employees, because we have a policy at the university that all teachers are faculty members who are salaried employees and not hourly employees. All right. So that's enhanced entity relationship modeling, and in our next lesson we'll go through an exercise where we do this sort of modeling in more detail.